This is a Stock Trading Reality Podcast, episode 74.
When you buy a penny stock, you're hoping that one day it's going to make it to that, golden price that you think it's going to, or it's going to get that 800%. But with a penny stock, I mean, just like Hooch does, he basically trades Netflix options day in, day out.
This is the Stock Trading Reality Podcast, where you get to see the realistic side of a trader's journey. Get inspired and stay motivated by everyday normal people who are currently on their journey to trading success. And this is your host.
As a kid, he was scared by the movie A Land Before Time.
Clay Trader.
So before you laugh, think back to that movie, and spoiler alert in case you've never seen Land Before Time, but if you're my age and have not seen that movie, then maybe you should move to like South Korea or Cuba or in one of the other China, I guess, one of the other fine communist countries. But his mom dies, and his mom dies in that battle scene with T-Rex, and like I still remember it. The cartoon graphic artist literally drew in the big chunk out of the back of the mom. And yeah, that totally scarred me and that scared me. And that movie is not for kids. My daughters and my son will not see that until they're at least like 25 years old. So, I mean, Ches, please tell me you've seen that, or else I just admitted to having basically a communist co-host there.
I've definitely seen it, and it's one of Kelly's favorite movies. But I think it's more than just being graphic for that time. I think as a society in general, though, and this is just a problem with me, I like to go way too big and look way too far out. We're slowly getting more censored and touchy-feely about stuff. So yeah, that movie made you the man you are today, Clay, because the mom got a chunk ripped out of her back. So
it's true. That's it. It's the only reason I have hair on my chest is because of that movie. It got the testosterone flowing, and I think I remember sitting there watching that movie and thinking, why are these hairs coming out of my armpits? So, I mean, that's true. So this is getting weird. We better move on. So, Ches, sometimes I'm like, should I go down this path with a little joke or not? But episode 1 of this podcast, I would have never even thought about it. But yeah, we've been around a while. So why not explore a little bit of the joke rabbit holes? But today we have a great interview. We just finished it up. We are talking with KrazyInTheKeys. That is the name that he goes by in the chat room. His real name is Keith, so that's what we'll be referring to him as. But he is a nurse. He's a little bit older in age, so he's got a lot more experience. He's been in the market, out of the market, in the market, out of the market. And he's got a great perspective on things and really a great outlook in terms of how you should be preparing yourself as a trader, in terms of not wanting to rush and just really kind of taking your time and going about things, the quote unquote boring way, or in all actuality, the smart way. So I don't want to, spoil anything else, but we had a great time. We had some good laughs, and it was, I think, going to be a very beneficial, interview. And we'll save, I'm not going to tell you in what way, but I think it'll save at least one person out there avoiding some massive headaches in the market if you go down certain paths. So let's just hop right in with Keith. Keith, how are you doing?
Good.
Well, first off, I appreciate your patience. We were having a little bit of difficulties on my end before we got started. So thanks for hanging around and not getting too frustrated. If you are frustrated, I guess you're doing a good job of masking it from us. So thank you very much for your patience. And just as a reminder to everybody listening, for those of you specifically in the chat room, KrazyInTheKeys is what he goes by. So I'm assuming that means the Florida Keys?
Yeah, Florida Keys. I live in the north part around Key Largo.
So are you what's the coldest it ever gets there? What would you consider cold?
Usually in the 70s it starts to, you got to put on a sweater for sure.
Ches, I really don't like this guy right now, Ches.
Yep, I know how much that burns you up.
70s, he's putting on a...
Yeah, right. That's about it. If it gets much lower than that, the iguanas start falling out of the trees and stuff, and stuff starts dying off. So it's kind of not that tolerant to cool weather anyway down here.
To use some of our trading lingo, there's dead bodies all over the place if it drops below 70.
Yeah.
Nice. All right. So, well, interesting. I've my wife and I were actually thinking about visiting the Keys for our honeymoon, but we chose someplace else. But I definitely want to get down there at some point in time. So anyways, this is not the travel channel. So again, thank you for being here, and we'll start right at the very beginning. what got you interested in the markets, and what kind of not only got you interested, but got you interested enough to want to actually put some money and try your hand at the market?
Well, I guess originally, I've been a nurse for a long time. I've been a nurse for about 28 years. And I was working with a guy in the emergency room, probably like 93. And he had told me about some stock that was supposed to do really good that he had heard about. And it was, they came up with a cancer drug and they were getting some kind of FDA approval. And so I guess I got, into this hopefully get rich quick idea. And I went to the A.G. Edwards, or no, one of the Jones offices.
Edward Jones, probably?
Yeah, Edward Jones, yeah. And I think they charged like $50, and I bought some stock. It was a penny stock, and I think I spent $50, and it really went nowhere.
Now, just to give the listeners a little context, how much money did you put into that?
$50. It was $50 for the penny
gotcha.
For, I don't know, a couple hundred shares, and then the brokerage fee was actually $50 too.
Oh, okay. That's what I thought you meant too.
Yeah. As Clay would always say, though, you did exhibit some good risk management by only putting 500 and not 500,000. So good on you to start small at least. But obviously, it sounds like it didn't work out too well, did it? Especially with the commission cost.
Well, not even five. But you said $50, right, into it?
Yeah, it was only $50. I was very, very skeptical, and I was already. I mean, I had some other things going on as far as a 401k and mutual funds and things like that, but that was pretty much being managed by the person that managed our retirement fund. So I really didn't get too involved with that until I guess around 2000. Working in the hospital business, you're kind of fortunate to get certain perks like retirement funds and that kind of stuff set up automatically for you. So I didn't really have to deal with it that much at that point, but I did start getting a little more interested in the way mutual funds move, and possibly making some alterations in my 401 that, trying to play maybe when something like PIMCO was starting to trend a little lower to, actually sell it when it was trending higher and then try to buy into it when it would trend lower. Cause I noticed it always had this kind of wavy trend to it, and so I guess that got me a little more interested in actually getting actively involved with trying to do some kind of investing, on trends or in between trends.
Right. I got a question. I'm curious. So you went to Edward Jones, and we're backtracking a little bit. So did you go into their office and sit down with a broker, or how did that all, or was this all over the phone? What was the dynamic there?
No, it was just over the phone. I think the guy thought I was a little crazy, but
okay. That was my question was, all right, so you're talking with this broker and then you tell this guy you want to buy a penny stock. Did he say, maybe this isn't the best idea, or is he sure, whatever, because I'm getting my commission? Do you remember at all how that conversation went?
He definitely tried to steer me away from it. And, I kind of talked him into doing the trade for me, or making the investment. But no, he definitely said, this has to be money that you can afford to lose. And, you don't want to make any investments that, or something more stable for me might be something like a mutual fund, or, an index fund, something like that. And so,
right,
yeah.
Well, to be fair to this guy and Edward Jones, I don't know if they're still like this, but Ches, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think all the other times we interviewed somebody and they spoke with their broker pretty much was just like, yeah, man, do whatever you want, because they just collected the commissions. But at least, to give credit where credit's due, this broker seemed to actually have Keith's best intentions at heart.
Well, that could be argued, because they get a lot of money for managing mutual funds. But yes, for the most part, he did actually try to steer him out of something that generally 99% of the time isn't going to work out well for them. So there was a little bit of effort, though.
Better than what we've heard in the past, I guess. And not that the bar was ever set that high. And no offense to you stockbrokers out there, but Ches and I are just speaking from our experience of what other people have said. So it is what it is. You're going to say something, Keith?
Well, yeah, I did actually have another interaction with a broker in between. And this was, I guess, like the late 90s, like 98. A friend of mine had went from working in the telecom industry to actually working at a stock as a working with a stock brokerage group, and he told me I should invest in Cisco. That Cisco was just doing great. It was splitting every 6 to 8 months, it seemed like, and it would be a pretty wise investment. So I did put a couple of $1,000 into that, and that didn't work out too well either, because then I don't think it ever split again after I bought it, and it basically kind of dwindled down to the $2,000 ended up being around $500, because this was right around there was a crash in the market, kind of a tech crash in around 2000, I believe, right? 2000.
Right. The dot-com bubble burst, right?
Yep. Yeah, that kind of happened right around the same time too. So, I lost faith, I guess, a little more than I actually had the first time, so kind of maybe even more skeptical of actually doing any kind of investing on my own. And so go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead and we'll finish your thought. I want to come back to that word skeptical, though.
Well, until what I just had said previously about getting involved with the mutual funds and stuff. But
okay.
So there was another, I guess, a hit to my ego, as far as trying to invest. But this one was actually, the broker was a friend of mine, and he didn't bother at all telling me I didn't need to make the investment. He was like, yeah, go for it. Let's get your money in there and watch it grow.
Right. Now you distracted me again with another talking point, but you're a nurse, so you're not a dummy, right? I mean, it takes smarts to, work in the medical field and all that sort of stuff. So, and then you mentioned, it kind of took a hit to your ego. So going in, did you feel like, look, I'm a nurse, I've gone through, I've taken chemistry and anatomy and, some calculus and some physics, whatever you have to take to get a nursing degree. So did you come in, you think, maybe a little overconfident in the markets, or, what was your original mindset going in? Because that's what, I don't know if Ches has experienced that too, but whenever we're talking with potential people that might want to sign up or just asking questions, as soon as they let me know that, and I'm not trying to, group everybody in this, but it's like, yeah, I talked to a few doctors, a few lawyers, and they're just kind of like, I got a medical degree, or I got this, or I got that. And I'm just like, all right, the market can humble people pretty quickly, no matter what your degree is. So what was your mindset going in?
I had no clue. I really didn't. I mean, I feel very confident in what I do as a profession. And basically, that's because of my education from it, which actually you've helped me kind of learn that, I kind of got that from some of your videos, your promotional stuff, that, without investing the money in the education, educating myself to be able to work better in the stock market, it's not going to go anywhere. And that's the same thing, I just reflected it back on my career that I've had for, close to 30 years. And I made an investment in that. I made a huge time investment, and then, a monetary investment, and it paid off. And so, reflecting on that and listening to what you were saying, and I don't know, it just kind of helped out after I entered or got in the inner circle with saying, well, just go ahead and pay for the full university to try to get that going. And I don't know, I guess back then like I said, I didn't have a clue. I just was willing.
So you didn't back then. You didn't know what you didn't know, which just led to total cluelessness. Is that kind of what you're getting at there?
Yeah. I didn't have a clue. I was just willing to give someone my money and see what would happen to it.
But there were some instincts, and this is a good segue into the original question about the word skeptical. Back about that penny stock, you said, yeah, I was pretty skeptical of it, so that's why I put in $50. What were you skeptical of? Because, I mean, you just admitted you didn't know what you didn't know, but yet you still had some instincts of, skepticism. So, what were you skeptical about?
Well, the fact that anything could be done in cancer research to help people at that time, wasn't moving along too much. So I kind of knew a little bit from the medical field, that there wasn't a whole lot of new drugs coming out in that time frame. That changed later on as, technology changed in the pharmaceutical industry, of course. But at that time, there wasn't that many new drugs coming out. There was, it was kind of it was a little before there was kind of a pharmaceutical revolution, I guess, in the later 90s and early 2000s, where a lot of new drugs came out that were better than a lot of the old ones that had been around for a while, including cancer medication. So I just knew a little bit about medicines and pharmaceuticals. So I guess that would have been the basis of my skepticism.
Yeah, and that's coming into the market with skepticism is actually a good way to, generally limit your losses right away. And just like Clay said, speaking with people who have spent, like yourself, years and years and years educating themselves on their particular career field, a lot of them coming like, oh yeah, this will be easy. But so now, everybody keeps pushing you towards mutual funds. Let us manage your money. You didn't do too hot with Cisco. You didn't do too hot with this penny stock. What are you thinking now? Are you thinking that you want to go have somebody else manage your money? Are you still are you set on learning how to kind of take in charge of your financial path? What's it look like from this point?
Well, at the point that I was talking about with the mutual funds, I felt like, at that point I was starting to get a little more interested. I was learning more about mutual funds and how they operated. So yeah, I was willing to try to start managing it some on my own. And back then I was with a group, AIG. I don't know if you remember them. But anyway, they gave you a lot of leniency with your 401k and your mutual fund. So I could, like I said, especially with like PIMCO was when I used to basically kind of, swing trade a little bit as far as the mutual fund thing went. It would go up for a while. I would move everything over into the money market account. And then when it would drop, I would purchase it back and hold on till, it would take about 6 months for it to kind of go up again where I was comfortable selling it. So, I kind of felt like I was getting a little control then. And then about 10 years ago, I just decided, I wanted to actually start investing actually in some stocks on my own. I opened an Etrade account. And this was right before the 2008 crash. These crashes kept coming around.
Yeah, your timing has been impeccable so far.
And so I actually kind of did pretty good on that. I had a few investments that I lost some money on. One of them was Fannie Mae, and which was pretty much at the core of all of it. Then a couple of other, not that big of losses because I didn't have that much money invested, but I did realize that this was an opportunity to actually get some money invested in the market as things are starting to go way down. So I try to do more of a long-term investment with some of the lower prices when, as 2008 progressed and a lot of the stocks dropped. And but I just had a lot of financial restraints on me at that time. I had gone through a divorce. I was paying a lot of alimony and things like that. So I really didn't have a lot of extra money around it. Every time I turned around, I was having to actually cash out, something I had started making a little bit of money on. So I actually got back out of it again until only about December. Since 2008, I've been able to, save some money. I bought a house and I had some stuff going on for the last couple of years. But then, like I said, around December, January, I started getting interested in it again. And then that's when I started. I was actually watching some of your YouTube videos on some penny stocks. TRTC was when you were covering a lot then. And I had bought it, and I really liked the way you approached everything as far as the charting or technical analysis. So then I thought, well, this is actually something else to give me more control and know more about what I'm doing. And then, like I said, then I just watched some of your more promotional videos and decided, I would just go ahead and get invested.
Yeah. And obviously, like you said, we do stress this a lot, and it's not because, like Clay says in all his videos, we don't care where you go. You don't have to get courses here at all. You can do whatever you want, but please, please, please just invest in yourself and get educated, because you really are. Every time you put on a trade, you're swimming with sharks. That's actually one of the names of the people in our chat room. Every time you're in the financial market, you're competing against somebody else. While it's not technically a zero-sum game, for the most part, it's a zero-sum game. So obviously you kind of really decided, you're going to take the leap. You're going to learn how to do this from somebody who's kind of done it for over a decade now. And well, kudos to you first off for kind of realizing that. A lot of people would generally go through and kind of what I call set their money on fire for a lot more time and usually a lot longer than before they're willing to kind of let their ego accept that they need to kind of learn more from somebody who knows what they're doing. So that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's really been an eye opener. I mean, I started with robotic trading, which actually you told me to do. You said do that, do the skill sharpening and trade options. And I think we had a little short conversation about. I said something about what my account level was, and you said, "Fine, you got plenty of money, just do it." And I'm glad I did. I mean, like I said, it's really been an eye opener, and I've learned so much, and I feel like I can actually get where I want to be as far as doing trading at home. I mean, I guess I never really thought about trading until I started taking Clay's courses, and after that, then it was like I'm all in.
Now, for context for the listeners, when exactly did you join CTU? How long ago was that? I remember this conversation. I just don't remember how long ago it was.
Well, in April, I did the inner circle, and then it was only a couple of weeks later I went ahead and just paid for the full university.
Yep. So obviously, you kind of saw and you rubbed elbows with the community a little bit and realized that it wasn't a toxic place. And if the listeners have listened to the previous podcast or two, we actually had some good examples of people who joined communities that were not very conducive to helping people learn how to trade. So we're glad that you settled here. And like you said, I'm glad it's been a real eye opener. Now, let's see, how far have you got? How many courses have you gone through? You've probably tackled quite a lot of them at this point, haven't you?
Yeah, I did all of robotic training, the skill sharpening, the level 2s, options, and I'm in the middle of advanced options right now.
No, I got a question for you. Though.
I did RVR too. I got that out of the way.
I got a question for you. For skill sharpening, did you print out the guides?
Yeah, I did. Yep.
So you printed them out, and did you like draw on them and all that sort of stuff?
Yeah, I made a mess of them, but yeah.
Well, that's the point, and that's my question I always like to ask people, because I think there's a hidden value in that question in terms of, are you rushing or are you taking your time and doing it right? Because a lot of times you're like, no, I didn't print it out. I don't know what they do if they didn't print it out, because the whole point of that course is to get interactive. But the people that print it out and, like you said, make a mess of them, well, that tells me you went through them properly and did it right. So I always remember, going back for those members of the community, Nate Wilson should hopefully ring a bell. He's been doing fantastic. But when we had a meet and greet in Baltimore, he took us up to his office because his office overlooks the Baltimore Orioles Stadium. But I remember seeing on his desk all those guides printed out, and he had them annotated and drawn on. And I picked them up and I was looking through, and I'm just like, well, now, granted, I realize from a statistical perspective, that's one data point and a sample size of one. Okay, that's not like this isn't an official experiment here. But from then on, I've always thought and kind of asked people, and it seems like the people that did that course the right way, their mindset was in the right spot from the get-go. So well done to you on printing that out and just doing it the way, making a mess of it. That's kind of I like the way you put that. To backtrack a tad, just because I'm curious. You said, you got interested in the markets again. What got you interested in the markets again after kind of your little rainstorm that you had previously where you had to just keep, cashing out of things? What ultimately brought you back? Because what I'm seeing is you are interested and then something happens, you leave. You get interested again, something happens, you leave. So what brought you back, this most recent time?
Well, it was actually a coworker of mine. He was telling me he had taken some options courses and at Bear University here in Miami, and he was just finishing them up. And him and I would have conversations. He works night shift, I work day shift, so in the morning we have to do a couple of things at shift change. There's a report that's done, and you have to count narcotics and do stuff like that. And so we were kind of going through our shift change, and every day we'd talk a little bit. And I don't know, I actually what I would do, he had taken some courses on technical analysis, so I would run up all these penny stocks and I would hand them to him and say, hey, look these over and tell me what you think. And so he would do that. And then he started telling me a little bit about, what he had learned about charting and stuff like that. And so I decided, well, like I said, I told you earlier, you may have been off when I was talking about this, but I have bought a house in the meantime. So, as far as getting my mortgage payment, getting comfortable with it and feel like I had some extra money around, that all kind of came together too, right around December. So I guess it was my friend at work that kind of got, and actually I've told him a lot about your courses. I'm trying to get him to join, and I think he might do it. But
come on,
yeah.
Keith's friend. We're somewhat of a friendly group as long as you're not looking to pump penny stocks to us.
Yeah, you'll have to send him this. You'll have to send him this podcast. But yeah, you can always email me. I'll always drop my email. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, no, I think he's kind of he's in the situation where I'm at. I mean, I'm 55 years old. I could be an emergency room nurse as long as I want to. I mean, there's a lot of older nurses in the field, but
not to mention male nurses. I'm going to rant here a little bit just about life in general, so I'm sorry, but this is one of my biggest pet peeves in lives is, I'm going to some private school and I'm getting a degree in, Scottish wood shoemaking, and I'm paying $40,000 a year. And I'm going to graduate with $160,000 in debt, but I don't have a job. There's no jobs for Roman wood shoemaking or whatever I just said. So good for you for getting into a job. And I'm sure you've heard a joke or two, but I think male nurses, that's the smartest thing ever because, this is not a political podcast, but there's the whole equality thing out there. But it's finally nursing is a way for us guys to play the equality card. So that's like the best decision ever. It's like if you go to you know what I'm saying, Ches? People are knocking down the door for a male nurse because you got to keep the equality statistics. So good for you for putting the ego aside and making a good life choice. Because you're right, you could do that the rest of your life. So.
Well, it's been a very great, a great career for me. I mean, there's plenty of opportunity and plenty of stability in it. So those two things,
absolutely,
and the money's not too bad either. It's funny. I see you guys talking a lot about setting up your retirement funds and things like that. But I've been very fortunate with my job. That's been all taken care of. It's already out of the way and set up. So now I'm ready to actually, start getting away from, clocking in 12 hours a day and maybe spend a little more time at home. And, if I can do it through, I'm actually all in on trading now. This is something I'm thinking it's going to be a second career for me for sure. And maybe I hope it'll be my primary career before long, but I'm working on it.
So what I like the most is that, you're kind of, and it's regardless of age, this can be for anybody in any point of their life at all. What I call it is just kind of the strategy shift where you're ready to kind of start, it's not that, well, it's like you're looking to where your next income source could be, when you don't want to keep punching the clock. And don't get me wrong, my wife is a nurse and she absolutely loves it and she gets compensated great for it. And it's great for her schedule and it works really well. And she's told me many, many times that I should have went into it myself. But the cool thing about it is that, that you have a lot of flexibility. And I just like the fact that you're already preparing for the next chapter. When you decide maybe you want to start working part-time as a nurse and then as you transition to full-time trading. Because like you just said, you're full in on trading, which is totally awesome. And, like Clay always says, and I say the same thing, you got to have a passion for this. You're not here on this podcast right now talking to us about how you had dreamed of trading in your house for a mansion and a Lamborghini and kicking back on the beach in a week's time. So kudos to you for keeping it real right there. But since you've been going through the courses since April now, have you been putting any real capital on the line as far as any trades, or are you still just working through the education?
No way. That was one of the greatest things I learned from your courses is that to stick with paper until I feel totally comfortable with it. And it's just been all paper since I started. I haven't invested another cent since I started taking your classes.
Nice. Now, when you got interested again for the, most recently, and you're talking your buddy, what you were throwing in penny stocks to look at charts at, were you putting any real money on the line then, or is this just all kind of maybe an indirect paper trading way? Or I guess the best way to ask the question, since you got re-interested, have you made any trades with real money since then, kind of before you stumbled across our site?
Oh yeah. That's why I was watching your YouTube video. I had put some money into TRTC.
Okay. Yep. Yep.
And there was another one called PVHO. They're kind of a 3D. They were penny stocks with all the Kool-Aid with them too. So I got all that, and I drank it. Drank it.
So how'd that turn out for you? Because I guarantee there's listeners out there that are probably thinking they're holding penny stocks that are gonna, make them rich, just like I know I did back with my muffler company. So I mean, how'd those initial penny stock trades turn out for you when you were drinking that Kool-Aid, as you said?
I did okay. I mean, on a couple of trades. I mean, I didn't know when to get out of them. They were swing trades, and but it seemed like, I mean, ultimately the account wasn't going anywhere. I'd make a little money, I'd lose a little money. I'd make a little money, I'd lose a little money, and of course the commission fees were biting away at it all the time. I mean, I didn't totally blow up my account or anything, but I made it to a point. I saw a few things going on, and I knew where I was trying to go with it after I saw your videos, and decided to invest in the university. And at that point, I just kind of stopped everything. So I would say from December till April, I broke even, I guess, because what I ended up doing was just started transferring the money out of the E-Trade account that I had in there, because I had added up to around 7,000 or 8,000. And I just kind of let it sit there for a little bit, and then moved it over into my savings, and then spent some on the university, and just kind of sat on the rest of it for a while, and did some stuff on my house. Because I had initially, like I said, I got my mortgage, squared away where I was comfortable with it and all my bills. So I had some extra money coming in. So I was all, going to put it into or start doing penny stocks again on E-Trade. But, it just, I don't know. It just doesn't ever work out, it seems. I don't know. It's just never. And then the rabbit hole gets even darker when you start getting into some of the like Yahoo message boards and iHub and stuff like that.
Ooh, down the rabbit hole, indeed.
There's some crazy psychology there, and not like candlestick psychology. I mean, this is really crazy stuff. So I could see that kind of coming too. And I never really wanted to invest in anyone to any other the other guys that you talk about, that tell you can make $1 million trading penny stocks and get the condo and the Lamborghini. I never really wanted to invest in any of those. I did get some of the free like penny stock updates and that kind of stuff, but I never joined another community or anything until I joined yours.
Well, I think Ches probably, tapped on that earlier when he said, you're in this because you're intrigued by it. You like the challenge of it. You have a passion for it. Whereas some of those other people that I'm sure you're referring to, they prey more upon the passion of and the emotion of, look at my fancy stuff. This is what it can get you. And, and this is just motivation to get you to, study. Or in other words, this is just motivation. Yeah, this is just motivation to get you to buy my courses. But it's like, so you're using a bunch of superficial items to get. Never mind. We won't go out on that tangent. But yeah, so that makes total sense why you wouldn't have been drawn into that sort of stuff, just because, like Ches already, observed, you're in this because you like the challenge, you're passionate about it. And yeah, I mean, we all like to make money, but that's not like, your main driving, force in terms of a bunch of superficial items like that. So did you ever take the Penny Stock Survival Guide course, or did you skip over that one?
I haven't done that one.
Okay. I just asked because it's funny. You summed it up perfectly about, the deep, dark rabbit hole of, message boards and all that sort of stuff. So, whenever you get time, you should go through it just for more of entertainment purposes. You could probably totally be like, oh yeah. It's that was still the funnest one to put together, just because after what's going on, which you do, it's just funny to kind of reflect back on. But,
one thing that's kind of funny, I mean, I don't mean this in a negative way or anything, but on the level 2 courses, you start talking about penny stocks a lot. And I was thinking to myself, man, I'm kind of getting tired of hearing about these penny stocks. I don't ever plan on going there again, And so,
level 2s there. And Ches, I want to hear your opinion on this too, and you chime in. Level 2s are important for big board stocks. They're important for options to an extent if you care about the options price, but to a very, partial extent. I definitely use level 2s when I'm trading, but when it's penny stocks, if you're not using level 2s, first off, I mean, please consider options over penny stocks. But if you choose penny stocks, you got to use level 2s. If you don't, then I mean, you are just walking around. You're trading blind, essentially.
You're flying blind. Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth. I know you utilize it and you trade on a very, very short time frame. Me as a swing trader, I don't have to utilize level 2s at all because it's definitely for a shorter term thing. However, it can really paint the picture for penny stocks. Like it's almost a tool that I think is absolutely required for penny stocks specifically. And like Clay said, you really are flying blind if you're not utilizing level 2s and trading penny stocks. But I'm gonna echo what he said as well, that you should be looking into options.
Yeah.
And we'll put some stuff in the show notes as well.
And just as a quick disclaimer, yes, I have a level 2 course, but this is in no shape or form my way of saying, yeah, so come buy my, no. If you're trading penny stocks, learn about level 2s. I don't care if it's from me or from somebody else, or I don't care, but you got to understand level 2s and you got to be using them. So, and let's bring Keith. Would you agree with that? Penny stocks, level 2s are super important, right?
Oh, definitely. Like I said, I'm kind of out of penny stocks now. I was done with those before I joined your courses. But I'm definitely in on options because that is really a neat trick you taught me. I couldn't believe that. It was a real eye opener taking the options course, and that's all I trade right now on paper is just options.
Now let me ask this: So it's been a while, Ches, since I brought up this question, but I know you're a nurse, but put on your imagination cap, and you are now a lawyer, and you're in a courtroom, and you are trying to present the case to a jury. Penny stocks or options? So why are you so fired up about options over penny stocks? Present your evidence, present your reasoning to the jury.
I guess it's it would have to be immediate gratification. Penny stocks, I've never traded penny stocks to begin with. I only swing traded them, and I would invest some money in them, and then when they went up, I would try to sell them. But of course, they eventually all just seem to go down. And options aren't like that. And options, I guess, there's more options out there too with any given underlying stock. So you have a lot more confidence in, or you actually have a lot more knowledge about what you're investing in, as opposed to a penny stock where you have absolutely no idea, especially when you start playing a lot of the big board stocks, because there's all that history. And with penny stocks, there's absolutely no history.
Now, when you say immediate gratification, can you clarify that for the listeners?
Well, I guess I would. Yeah,
I'll hop in here if you don't mind. I got the perfect analogy. If maybe people have said, penny stocks are like watching paint dry. What they mean by that, and what Keith has beautifully said, is you can't really. He said, I didn't really day trade them. I had to swing trade them. Well, yeah, that's because you can't really day trade penny stocks because they just don't move enough. There's not enough volume. You can't scalp in and out of them. It really is just like watching paint dry. Whereas, options are kind of like, I don't know what dries like super, super fast. It's like action can happen extremely quickly. So I don't mean to shove words in your mouth. Is that kind of what you're getting at though, with that immediate gratification?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. You can, I've seen it with options. You can literally get in when the market opens and be out an hour and a half later, and you're pretty much done for the day. You don't have to worry about anything going down for the rest of the day, and you're done. You're finished trading, and you just walk away, and you've made your money. That's more what it's about than sitting there watching like you said, watching paint dry with a penny stock, because ultimately it's just never going to dry. It stays wet the whole time.
Ooh, taking that analogy to the next level. Well done. I like that as the analogy. Yeah, that was nice.
And I know there are listeners out there that do trade penny stocks. Just for a little bit of example here, and I swing trade more than I ever day trade, just for context here. In one of my trades alone, I'm up 43%, okay? Now, I get it, penny stocks can move 800%, 8,000%. But how often do you find something that can move, I don't know, 20 to 50 to 100 to 300% relatively often? And I don't have to, I'm not worried about, Lowe's going bankrupt. I'm not worried about Chevron going bankrupt. Could they? Sure. Some awful thing could happen. That could happen. But, just for context, just one of my trades alone, and I have 6 on right now. One, and this is, I picked the modest one, okay, is up 43%. There are people who trade penny stocks that would love to get 50%, 100% gainers relatively often. So, and like I said, these are big companies, okay? And just like, Keith was saying, generally they don't all go down. Just saying. Clay, do you have anything to say about that?
I want to comment on yours, and you left out, I would argue probably is the key pieces. You're up 43%, and it's a real 43%. Yep. What do I mean by a real 43%? Well, you may see a penny stock that, holy crap, that thing's up 80%. Well, go try to sell for 80% gain and see if you can sell for 80% gains. There's something in the market called liquidity, and we're not going to get into that, but penny stock, quote unquote, percentages can be very deceiving because there just isn't a whole lot of people in the market. So sure, you're your ticker symbol and your data may be flashing at you, up 50%, up 60%. But, we've said this before, but it's been a while. Buying a penny stock, yeah, no problem. There's always somebody willing to sell you some shares. But when it comes time to sell, that's where things get a little tricky. But to Chez's point, when he says he's up 43%, Chez, correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't look at your position. You could literally get out right now for a 43% gain if you wanted to, right?
I could. And that's only a portion of my trade too. The rest of it, I already booked for more than that. Actually 100% gain for the first half. So yes, I could get out right now for that 43%. No problem.
And so that's the big thing is, that's because options market is liquidity. So if I was a lawyer, that would be my biggest, case against penny stocks is just simply when you want to sell an option, there's a lot of people in the options market. So it's much easier to sell.
Well, also, you can keep coming back to it. I mean, when you buy a penny stock, you're hoping that one day it's going to make it to that, golden price that you think it's going to, or it's going to get that 800%. But with a penny stock, I mean, just like Hooch does, he basically trades Netflix options day in, day out, day in, day out. And, and you make that whatever percentage is every day. It might not be the same every day, but, you can keep going back to that same stock. With a penny stock, you might get lucky. It might go up. It might not, but it's usually a one-time thing anyway. So,
and along with that, from a strictly business perspective, because remember, if you want to do trading, you got to treat it as a business. So let's look at this from a productivity and efficiency perspective. Perfect example. All Hooch does is trade Netflix. Why does that matter? Well, if you're in the penny stock market, no penny stock is going to allow you to trade it over and over again. Eventually, it's just going to die out. Like he said, the paint's going to remain wet on it, and it is what it is. And then you're spending so much time. All right, well, now I got to go find the next penny stock. With options, you just find something. In Hooch's case, Netflix or an Apple or a SPY or an Amazon or whatever, and you just trade it day in and day out. You may be thinking, because maybe you're in the penny stock mindset, well, how can that be? I'm always searching for a new ticker symbol. Well, in the world of options, one ticker symbol can give you all that you need. Maybe bump it up to 2 or 3, but literally 2 or 3 ticker symbols can give you all the opportunity. I mean, I'm not speaking gibberish. Am I, Chez or Keith? What can you?
No. That's exactly the truth.
You find the market leaders and money is flowing in and out all the time. They create great waves and great opportunity, especially from an options pricing model. So no, you're not exaggerating at all. And there's people who make tons of money literally focusing on less than 5 stocks. And it's just amazing that opportunity exists. But
I got to give another disclosure, Chez. Now, just for those of you that may be the cynics out there, you are just bashing penny stocks because you have options courses for sale. I also have a penny stock course for sale. So yes, us bashing penny stocks is not exactly a smart business move because so there's no ulterior motives here. I mean, there are both courses available on the site. So before you try to throw out that card, it doesn't really matter because if you want to trade penny stocks, fine. Hey, buy my course. If you don't, whatever. But just realize that there is no, there's no conflict of interest here. We're just speaking and if you don't believe us, fine, go experience it for yourself. I mean, no sweat off our back. So now what are your strategies kind of right now? And I know you're still paper trading, but what sort of strategies are you using, within the options market? Are you just doing directional? Are you doing advanced setups? Talk to us about what you're currently, working on.
Some directional and some advanced orders. I'm using Thinkorswim, and I'm still getting used to the whole format and in the program. So, that's been a little bit of a challenge, but mainly doing advanced orders with stop losses, in place to limit my losses and trying to take advantage on the gains that I can get. And every once in a while, I've actually been. I downloaded Thinkorswim mobile onto my phone, so I've been using it a little bit too. Basically, with I use free stock charts right now, so doing most of my technical analysis on freestockcharts.com. And then
you like them out of curiosity? Are they pretty good?
I like them. I'm only using the free, but I think I'm getting ready to use the pay for it. I'd like to try the one that you have, but I just don't think I can afford that right now.
No.
You don't need the overhead.
Very unnecessary. And I would not use them if it wasn't for the business perspective of things in terms of doing video charts and stuff and webinars and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, that would definitely be overkill.
Free stock charts has there's a lot of things that are really good about them, and I like them so far. And like I said, I'm getting ready to just do the paid service and get out of the free one anyway. So and just stick with that for a while. I think it seems to be the best one. It actually seems to work a little easier than Thinkorswim's charts. I don't like their charts that much.
Gotcha. Now, kind of, I saw you touch on mobile there, and that kind of steers into this question. Now, what you said you work day shift, so I'm assuming you work 6:30 in the morning to 6 p.m. You work 12 hours?
Yeah, it's 7 to 7. Yeah.
7 to 7. Gotcha. Okay, so how do you actually go about what are your trading routines look like based on that? Are you setting up trades the night before? Are you setting up trades, before you head into work in the morning?
Are you letting your patients bleed out because you have to?
Yeah, because you're on Thinkorswim mobile or something.
Yeah, I realize your aorta is cut right now, but I gotta put together an iron condor.
No, I set the trades up the night before, and then I just check in on them during the day. Infrequently. It's not like I'm glued to my phone the whole time. I work in an emergency room, and right now it happens to be a kind of a slow time in the Florida Keys. So our patient census is at a level where there's a lot of free time there. And when you're an emergency room nurse, if you don't have a patient, you're really not doing anything. So that's one of the reasons I like being in the ER. And so, when I have patients, I'm busy with them. I stay with them. That's all I do. But in my free time, I'm able to kind of check in on things once in a while.
Nice. I just picture my most recent memories of nurses, just because we've had 3 kids now, is like the labor nurses, and you walk out there and they're just not doing anything. And I guess, well, yeah, if nobody needs them at that point in time, then yeah, they're just sitting there kind of looking at their phones or on their computers or whatever. And so I guess that makes sense. But of course we always had great nurses, but so that there is definitely the downside, or there's definitely downtime, but I think the downside of that might be, and I could be speaking in pure ignorance here, is the unknown factor is, the doors could come smacking open and there's some patient there with a big shark bite down in the, so, I mean, does that factor in, or is that something you're going to have to, work into your strategy? Because in all seriousness, I mean, that is something that you may have to, consider. Because, I mean, you can't be in some intense trade with the risk of a patient all of a sudden flying in the doors.
No. Like I said, I just check in. I don't do any trading at work. I just check in once in a while on my orders that I set up the night before, just to kind of see where they're going. So, and, especially since I'm paper trading, I don't feel that comfortable with, with that right now. I'm, as far as my confidence in it. So I want to check, okay, was that a good trade that I set up? Did I lose out on my stop loss? Did did it fill? So I just check in once in a while. It's not like I said, it's not like I'm just sitting there, glued to my phone the whole time.
Yeah. What I really like about that though, Clay, is that we've kind of been touching on this recently in the webinars, and just to give some spoilers for you who are not CTU members yet. Don't we find that a lot of people have impatience in their trades? Oh, we've noticed this in the chat as well, is they'll get in at a great location. Their stop loss is in a completely logical location, but they get so worked up and anxious about a position that they never let it reach its logical target. Would you say you see that quite often?
Yeah, no,
Isn't he almost at an advantage that he's only checking it, here and there to see if the trade plan worked out? I don't know if we talked about that on another podcast or that was a video or something. It's just, but people who are glued to the screen, sometimes, they never let their winners kind of work as much as they can for them because they just get so anxious about it.
I'll answer that. You're right. You're 100% right. It's a lot easier. I feel a lot better about it when I'm just checking in every once in a while. I mean, I'm off today. I've been on here. I was on this morning until we started this podcast. I mean, and I'm doing stupid stuff because I'm just right here in front of it all the time. I'm like, I need to get out of that now. And so, yeah, it's a little easier. And it's actually more of a confidence builder, being able to do that, so you're 100% right on that. It works a lot better when you're not checking in 24, every second.
What's crazy to me as an economics just nerd, basic principle in economics, there are always trade-offs. And to Chez's point, I fully agree. The trade-off, you may be sitting there thinking, oh man, I'm so jealous of those people that can sit at their computer and just trade all day long. True. There are definitely benefits to be able to sit at your computer and trade all day long. But the con is, as we've just discussed, you can get way too antsy. You can do stupid things. You can lose your patience. Your mind can play tricks on you because you're just staring at it. So, what is it? The saying, the grass isn't always greener on the other side. I think that, so if you're somebody that's like, oh, I have a job, therefore trading's not even worth it. Yeah. If you want to do short-term scalping, probably not. But there are so many other avenues. And as I think probably Keith and Ches would argue, there are a whole lot more benefits of not having to sit there and watch every little trade. Because from my perspective, I'll be the first to admit, when I'm watching every little thing and it's just like, it's sometimes like, man, I wish I could just walk away right now and come back later. And, it is what it is. So, great discussion. I don't know even how we got on this topic, but that was fantastic. Anyways, looking at the time, we got to start to wrap things up. So Ches has a time machine and you can get it down to the Keys, right, Ches?
Yeah, we might have to use a flatbed truck or something. I don't think we could fly it in. But yeah, we could drive it down there.
All right. So if Ches, gets that flatbed truck, gives you the time machine, and you have an interesting situation because you have so many kind of in and outs of the market. So we'll let you choose. If you could go back to some point, in your journey and give yourself a bit of advice, what would that piece of advice be?
My journey since when? Since
the ball's in your court, wherever you think you'd want to go back to.
Well, I guess I'll relate it to my trading journey. I probably would have found out about technical analysis about 10 years ago. Would have been nice. I didn't have a clue, and I kind of put myself through a lot of frustration and everything when I could have been a lot more comfortable in what I was doing and understanding what I was doing if I just would have sat down and tried to learn about what a chart was and breaking that down. And so I guess I would have learned about technical analysis about 10 years ago. It would have been nice.
Yeah, and obviously, we've had people who've traded with line charts for many years and didn't know anything about it, and they're buying on rumors and selling on news and stuff like that. So yes, technical analysis is obviously what we love to use as our tool here, especially now. Obviously, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. This isn't the first time I've spoken with you via email or just in the chat room in general. So I know who you are and I know the journey you're going on. But the most important question Clay wants me to ask you, and it's absolutely required, and we'll determine if we even air this podcast, is what is your favorite movie?
To be honest, I have not been paying attention for the last however long this podcast has been. I've been zoned out because this is when I actually start paying attention is this question forward. So,
well, I don't, favorite movie of all time or my favorite movie right now?
Whatever you, both.
Okay.
Both.
Well, I guess my favorite movie right now is Hardcore Henry.
I have not yet seen it.
It's really good. And probably my favorite movie of all time. I don't know. Maybe Finding Nemo.
That would make sense if you're down in the Keys. You like all those tropical fish.
Yeah, right.
Food wise, what do you like to? What is good down to eat down there in the Keys? So, what's your favorite food and then dessert?
Well, I'm a vegetarian, so I get to eat a lot of the tropical stuff that grows down here, which is great. And as far as dessert, probably say, I don't know. I'm a Southern boy, so probably banana pudding.
Now I'm hungry already. I hate those questions, Clay. We're gonna have to remove them at some point.
Yeah, it is kind of brutal.
So what do you do for fun or hobbies outside of being interested in the market?
Paddleboard. I have a house I'm renovating, so that's always fun to work on.
like real estate investing, you trying to flip it?
No, but I wouldn't mind getting rid of it in a couple of years. The market down here is growing. Housing levels are going up, pretty rapid. So, I like the area where I'm at. I have a couple of dogs. There's a park right next to the house. So, access to the ocean's real quick and easy to get to. So, I kind of like where it's at now, but I wouldn't mind just the way that the housing market's going down here, maybe looking at turning it over in a year or two.
Nice. So like kind of a swing trade flip almost in a sense.
Yeah. The Keys, there's a lot of choices here and as far as what kind of house you are, where the location is. But, one thing that's really great about it is the water's always really close.
Yeah, I feel like there'd be water everywhere you look. And for the final question here, 3 words, and these 3 words need to summarize what you would use to associate with a successful trader.
Education, preparation, and patience.
Nice. Preparation. That's all three good, but preparation, I think that one's super solid. So, well, Krazy in the Keys, aka Keith, thank you very much for hanging out with us this afternoon.
Okay, you're welcome. Glad to be here.
Yeah, it was a lot of, man, we went down some great rabbit holes. So in all seriousness, thank you very much. This was a fun time for sure. For you listeners out there, a few final requests before we all part ways until next week. If you're listening to this on the website, please click that share button, leave us comments. We read those. We will respond to them. If you're listening on iTunes or any of the other podcast players, subscribe, leave us a rating. Little things like that really do go a long way. And then finally, as the YouTube listenings of these seem to keep growing, if you are listening on YouTube, check out the channel, subscribe to the channel. A whole lot of other things on here besides just these podcasts. There's live trade videos, there's chart analysis videos, there's quick tip videos. There's all sorts of stuff. So definitely explore the channel, and hopefully you decide to subscribe so you can keep up to date on whenever new videos are released. So thank you again to Keith. Thank you again to all you listeners. We will see you back next week.
This has been the Stock Trading Reality Podcast. Thanks for taking the time to hang out. To learn more about Clay and the Clay Trader community, including the trading team, premium training, and more, visit claytrader.com.